Greetings. This is Doc I coming to you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central on November 27, 2020. Today's proverb: a silly daughter teaches her mother how to bear children. A silly daughter teaches her mother how to bear children. Think about it, don't stink about it. That's from Ethiopia. Poem for today: Lady, a Love Named Freedom by Eugene Redmond. From the book The Eye in the Ceiling. The Eye in the Ceiling. Now, you know, today, when he wrote this title, he probably wasn't thinking about eyes in the sky. But today we do literally have eyes in the sky. Not mine, not yours, but somebody's. Lady, a Love Named Freedom, from the book The Eye in the Ceiling. Last night I crept from my cage of color, the prison of past, and made love to a lady named Freedom. She was countless and almost mountless, but I made her achieve that voluptuous, then rode her vertical luxury, her jewelry-laden lap of pain into the valley of mirrors, valley of echoes, into the dry mouth of night, into the arms of freedom. An armless woman, where I, in birthday nakedness, diluted my chant with prayer, where the wind made of me a rocking chair, back and forth, Miss Freedom in a gown of flesh, stretched out, straddled me in her armlessly abandoned passion. And Aretha appeared in goddess glare, and Angela came as lordess of love, Roberta with quiet fire to scorch me on, Sojourner appearing with the proclamation of my manhood, and Lady Freedom softening to a night of feminine opportunity, a cavern of black lights I enter to find my brain erecting. That's right. It's from the one and only Eugene Redmond. From his mind to your mind. From my mind to your mind. Right. That's that thing that Spock used to do. Teaching Spanish and German in Bama. The next chapter in the reflections of Dr. Crosby on his life and works, otherwise known as Doing It the Hard Way. My next move was to find my office and begin checking the campus bookstore to see if my Spanish and German textbook orders had arrived. I was informed they hadn't, but should arrive soon. With that assurance, I didn't ask again. It was July. Classes didn't begin until September. So there was ample time to correct any errors that might occur with the book orders. I didn't hear anything more about these textbook orders until fall semester had already started. I met my Spanish classes and encountered no surprises. Those would come later. Meeting these students for the first time was exhilarating, for they all appeared to be ready to learn and were excited over having a new and perhaps younger instructor. I put stress on the word younger because after listening to their comments, the previous Spanish teacher was much older than I, who at the time had not yet celebrated my 30th birthday. Okay, and that was 81. Okay. The first thing I wanted to get done was to familiarize the class with the people whose language they would be learning. So I gave them a short introduction to the people whose language and culture they were about to study. The next class period, I jumped into a pronunciation drill of some Spanish letters and their distant sounds and the peculiarities of some consonants and consonant clusters. Okay, and actually, I'm going to skip this part for later. Okay, so in a nutshell, he talks about the German, teaching the German, etc. But this part I'm going to do in a different way a little bit later. We're going to come back to this part here. So I'm going to skip ahead now to this part here. Let's see. Okay. No, I know I read that part already. And yeah, here we go here. Okay, I got one more. I think it's a little piece here. So, one of the things that Dr. Crosby liked to do with students is to make sure that his instruction was live, that the teaching was live, the experience was live, that he wasn't dealing with a bunch of dead stuff. And so one of the things that he did was to have the students go out. They learned Christmas carols and they went out caroling. This experience captured the students' minds, hearts, and language abilities to such a degree. Oh, he got together with another teacher, the French teacher. So they went out and they did French, Spanish, and German Christmas carols. Mrs. Williams and I decided to take their learning experience even further. We decided to get permission from Tuskegee's theater director, Professor Bucky Buchanan, to use his theater facility to rehearse and stage the short German, Spanish, and French comedies we'd chosen to present. We would first have our students read these plays silently and then aloud at home. In class, we would then take time to be sure they understood them and correct their pronunciation and the fluency of their out loud deliveries. Then the students rehearsed their parts almost endlessly, or so Mrs. Williams and I hoped, to get the students to work as hard as they did for months so as not to embarrass themselves. Tuskegee and us, we promised to embarrass themselves, Tuskegee and us. We promised the plays would be performed only once, but they would have to promise to do their best, for their grade depended on it. When she and I considered the students ready to perform, we set a performance date. As we had hoped, our students performed excellently well, and the audience enjoyed their stage presence, their daring to speak foreign languages in public, and their professional demeanor. Some students had their parents in the audience and were determined to demonstrate to them how much they enjoyed being Tuskegee and learning foreign languages to boot. They performed so well, Dr. Walker, who was in the audience, wanted the plays repeated. This is Saunders Walker he's talking about here, the famous Sanders Walker. Frankly, I would have enjoyed performing the plays again. However, I promised the students that we would do these plays only once. And I tried to convey that idea to Dr. Walker, but he was really insistent that they do it again because it was just such a novelty and it was so engaging. But we promised the students to have them only perform once. And indeed, when you consider the time we and the students had expended already, we had also promised ourselves not to do it more than once. Dr. Walker persisted, and I continued to resist his attempts. It was this situation, along with the other incidents, that started me to examine the real character of Tuskegee more intensively. As stated earlier on, I liked the students and the faculty, particularly those who, like me, were young, northern born, had come south, not only to teach Black youth, but also to enter the struggle, to enter our people's collective struggle to end segregation and win our right to be treated as full-fledged first-class citizens of the USA. Moreover, any other faculty members I befriended were born in the South, but were also willing to struggle against the racism that pervaded Alabama and the South, as well as the fear that pervaded the Institute. Shirley and I relished being colleagues like Ray Matthews, Paul Puryear, Lillian Walker, who was white, and others who accepted the challenges natural to working and living in the South. Initially, as pointed out earlier, I was very much concerned about my decision to bring my wife and now my 2 sons to Alabama. Dr. Walker's antics began causing my wife and I to have misgivings about the administrative and academic culture of the college. Accordingly, we thought there may still be too many ghosts of Booker T and the KKK haunting the institution. Booker T's accommodative attitude, his pick up the bucket where you are motto, and his or his successors' apparent willingness to accommodate white people and relax their emphasis on quality in whatever Tuskegee engaged in, whatever that means. In 1963, Tuskegee Institute had now been in existence for 82 years. I had joined the administration, faculty, and staff of Tuskegee and was determined to make the best of it, while in the meantime completing my research and writing my dissertation, which I plan to complete during my first year on the faculty. My second insight into Tuskegee's institutional character came when I was asked to attend a meeting with President Luther Foster Jr., Tuskegee Institute's 4th president, from 1953 to 1981. Dang, that's a long presidency. The previous and future presidents, other than President Booker T. Washington, were Dr. Robert Moton, 1919 to 1935, Dr. Frederick Patterson, 1935 to 1953, Dr. Benjamin Peyton, who came after the current one, Dr. that was there then, Luther Foster, and he was in charge from 1981 to 2010. Dr. Charlotte P. Morris, interim president until November 1st, 2010, and Dr. Gilbert Rochon, 2010 to the president. Okay, that was kind of a bit much there, wasn't it? Yeah. All right. Dr. Foster was hosting an important meeting concerning the Institute's education department's decision to drop the enrollment of some 100 or more education majors whose earned grade point averages after a year or more of attendance was between a 1.06 and a 1.09 or F. 4.0 was the highest attainable GPA. Several faculty and administrators were in attendance. They were all struggling with what to do. It appeared 100 or more students with these atrocious GPAs should be removed from the rolls, period. I mean, I don't understand why you gotta have a meeting over that. That just seems obvious. Some argued for their immediate dismissal. Others argued that their removal would result in Tuskegee's catchment area not having enough teachers to meet its needs. Others argued that their removal would result in Tuskegee's catchment area not having enough teachers to meet its needs. Now, what is it they're saying there? A catchment area, best I can determine based on what I've read already, means that this is a teaching college. They're teaching teachers. So therefore, if you get rid of these 100 that are already failing, they've already essentially gotten rid of themselves because they're not making the grade, then there won't be enough bodies to put in the classrooms of the schools in the area around Tuskegee. But if they're failing, what good are the bodies going to do anyway? Finally, I was asked to give my opinion on what should be done. President Foster went so far as to preface his question to me with the fact that since I had recently come to Tuskegee after teaching in a northern white college, I could let them know what Hiram College would have done. I let him and the others in attendance know that I'd been on Hiram College's faculty for only 2 years, and therefore had little knowledge of how Hiram would have reacted to such low academic performance. However, given my experiences as a student at white universities, I believe Hiram would have simply let the students go. Period. Dot. I quickly submitted information I had recently learned when I arrived in Alabama. It appeared some faculty were at odds with the Institute's graduating unprepared teachers, who were in turn graduating unprepared high school grade students seeking to become future teachers, who would in turn graduate additional underprepared students who would become teachers, who would continue the cycle of sending more or underprepared students trying to become teachers in Alabama's or other southern states' segregated schools. I ended with Tuskegee Institute must bring an end to this vicious cycle and cease sending underprepared teachers into the South's elementary, middle, and senior high schools. Period. Yeah. I realize there is a price Tuskegee will incur in terms of revenue, but that is the price it will have to pay. One very likable and gracious faculty member in attendance immediately offered a rebuttal to my comments, saying, quote, it was her knowledge that the University of Illinois would maintain such students on their rolls and eventually graduate students who were actually unprepared for teaching Black youth, end quote. I was flabbergasted upon hearing this statement and countered her remark with, quote, it's because such educational travesties might happen at the University of Illinois that they shouldn't be allowed to happen at Tuskegee, end quote. The meeting continued for a few minutes more and concluded with President Foster saying he would consider these matters addressed and the remedies suggested. I learned later that all those students slated for dismissal were reinstated. Well, I'll tell you what. I went to I believe that's a white school, predominantly white. If you ask me, it was. And I didn't get a 1.06 or 1.0, whatever they're talking about, but I got something below a 2 point. And yeah, I was summarily dismissed, told to go home and come back when I was ready. Period. My father himself had been dismissed, told to come back when he was ready, which he did. So you either have a standard and you meet it, or you don't have any standards at all. And this is probably part and parcel of why children whose families had moved from the South to the North, when they came North, they lost a whole year of schooling. They would be put back one grade level because the Northern school administrators already knew how low the standards were in their schools and how much lower they were in these Southern schools, and that therefore their grades, their grade levels, etc., did not match up. And today we have a word for this. We call it grade inflation, and it's rampant. It's happening right here in Ohio. It's happening in Akron, Ohio. It's happening in the Akron public schools, not necessarily the charter schools. I'm talking about the regular, everyday Akron public schools, grade inflation rampant. So if your children are in them schools, you need to think about, what are they really learning? What kind of experiences are they really having? Not so much compared to what, but just period. What kind of experiences are they having? Because if you can, as my daddy always liked to say, don't compare yourself with idiots. Now, he said that. I'm not calling anybody an idiot, but the point he was making is that a lot of times we make these comparisons. What would they do at the University of Illinois? What would they do at Ohio State? Who gives a damn what they would do there? Whatever they would do there doesn't have anything to do with what we do where we're at in our schools, our HBCUs. But there is a problem. Tuskegee is just the tip of the iceberg. This is an anecdotal story of what was going on at the time at Tuskegee. Granted, it's still going on. It ain't changed none yet. So beware, be on the lookout, be cognizant of what's going on around you and your children, and what they're learning and what they're not learning, and when they're learning what they're learning, and what do they need to learn? Okay, not what they should be learning, but what do they need to learn? We'll talk more about that later because my time is already up. So let me not extend this out too much longer. But I did just want to make a little commentary there about what he was saying and what the point was that he was making about this Tuskegee catchment area and how concerned the administrators were, and that they actually refused to drop students that were failing, that were going to all go out and become teachers. How intelligent is that? Think about it. Meanwhile, don't forget, we need more donations. This is live stream number 404, if I'm not mistaken. And we're going to do a few more this year. And then we're going to take a break for the month of December so that we can edit some interviews that we're currently in, that are currently in production, dealing with a tribute to the life and times of Dr. Edward W. Crosby. We want to get other people's take on who the man is, and what he has done over his lifetime, what his life's work amounted to, what kind of standards did he have overall. All right, so you know what to do. Go below, click the button, make your donation on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, go to the website, www.blakfacts.org. That's where you'll find me. And as you will see, you can make a donation too. Make one on a monthly basis. $5 a month. It won't kill you. You won't even know it's gone. $10 a month. That would help a lot. $20 a month, then you in the money. Okay? Then you're really doing something at $20 a month. The same thing St. Jude is asking for. But guess what? St. Jude only solves your problem if you have cancer. We're trying to deal with a cancer of the mind that's much more prevalent and endemic across the board. Peace out, y'all. We'll be black tonight at 9. Doc Ock at noon and 9, signing out.